On the 15th of January 2022, Britain is set to celebrate the formation of HM Coast Guard, an organisation that has helped guard and protect our shores. It's a service that is well respected and one that has saved countless lives across its 200-year history. This story is inspired by the life of one of our country's first ever Coast Guards. He is one of many that dedicated their lives from the very beginning of the Coast Guard's formation and helped lay the foundations for all those that came after.
A big hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the next episode. Today, Jana and I have come to
Walton on the Naze.
That's it, we've come to Walton on the Naze in Essex, England. Now, this beautiful little tiny seaside resort I haven't actually been to in 20 years. I used to come here a lot when I was younger and even more so in my young adulthood, but I then moved away from Essex for quite a few years. So this is the first time in 20 years I've been to this resort, and it's like a step back in time for me. And also Walton is something quite special with our family history, because my 5 times great-grandfather and Jana's 6 times great-grandfather was one of the United Kingdom's very first ever Coast Guards.
There's a Coast Guard where he saves people.
Where he saves people, yeah.
From drowning.
Yeah, from drowning, that's right. So for more than 40 years, my 5 times great-grandfather and Jana's 6, Jonathan Webb, Admiral Jonathan Webb, looked out on this beautiful site here in Essex and saved countless lives. And we're going to have a little exploration into his life while we're here.
I have been researching my family history for 25 years, a passion I have had since I was aged 18, and Jonathan Webb is an ancestor I feel very proud of. His story I have known for a long time. Now, Jonathan is recorded in his early years as a lieutenant and in the last few years of his life as an admiral. So he was admirated in the 1860s. So as a part of mine and Jana's research into the life of Jonathan Webb, Coast Guard of Walton Gap, I do have some documents in front of us. It's just really the start of our research, because I've got a trip planned to the Essex Records Office to see what I can unearth in their archives, and also a trip planned for the National Archives in London, because they hold Coast Guard minute books and so on. So I'm really hoping that we'll be able to unearth more information about Jonathan Webb's life, and also the early Coast Guard history of Walton Gap. So this document here dates from the 7th of May 1818, and we have, so Jonathan Webb was quite young at this point. So 26-year-old Jonathan Webb was a boatman, and he was appointed in Misner Haven. Now on here you have him listed here as a Coast Guard and Water Guard, because the Coast Guard as we know it today hadn't even been formed in 1818. So, and Water Guards were predominantly employed to look out for smuggling. So these very early years of his life, he was patrolling our shores looking for smugglers rather than actually guarding the waters and protecting other people and stopping them from drowning. Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Webb, just there. Next one up. That's it. So again, Chief Officer, and we've got him here in the station is Portreath in St Ives, which is in Cornwall. And again, he's still Chief Officer. And this, the date we're looking at here is the 19th of April, 1828.
He's going up
so
fast.
He is, and he's moving around a lot, isn't he? So he's getting a huge amount of experience in the Coast Guard service. And by this point, the Coast Guard services had actually been formed. Now, I can imagine that
St Ives was quite an incredible place to.
How can you move up that fast?
Well, you must have been a very good coast guard. Shall we check the next page?
Yes.
So on this record here,
I can't read that.
we've got the station, which is Swale Cliff, which is in Taversham, Whitstable. Now we've got Jonathan Webb just here. So the date we're looking at is the 10th of March 1837. So it says he's come from Newquay and he's moved across to the Swale Cliff Coast Guard Station in Taversham. And he is still chief officer. Well, he remains chief officer for the remainder of his life.
Why don't he move up?
Oh, well, he does in very old age. He becomes an admiral. So shall we check the next page and see how well Jonathan's doing and where he's moved to?
So well. I can't really read this.
Okay, so it's up here.
That one.
Yep, so now we reach Walton Gap. Now, he actually was in Walton Gap in the around 1822, I think. He was there for about 8 years. But I don't have the Coast Guard record for that. Not in front of me anyway. I do have it on my computer.
And this was in 1842.
It is in 1842, you're right. And he was chief officer of Walton Gap, and from 1842 onwards, he remained in Walton until his death.
So he came
In
an admiral
1865,
in Walton.
he did well. In the 1860s, he was invited to London, and he was admirated there.
Really?
So yeah, that must have been something he was extremely proud of.
He must have been really proud of himself.
Now, sadly, some of the stories that we really do want to find out about some of the rescues that he was involved in, which is one of the reasons why I plan to visit the National Archives and the Essex Records Office in the hope we might find some information out about some of the rescues. I'm also in contact with the Coast Guard Museum in Walton on the Naze, and I'm waiting to hear back from them, and I'm hoping they'll be able to help Yana and I as well. With the upcoming 200th anniversary of HM Coast Guard, it feels right to reopen those dusty pages of my family history and tell his story. With the help of the RNLI Museum Walton on the Naze, the Essex Records Office and the National Archives in London, I am finally able to put together those final pages of Jonathan's story. Jonathan Webb was born in 1792 on the port town of Yarmouth, Isle of Wight, and the youngest of 7 children born to George and Mary Webb. It was a time of unrest in England, a country on the cusp of war with France, a war that will eventually play out in 1803 and last for more than 12 years. The Napoleonic Wars were closing in and would continue through until Napoleon's downfall at Waterloo. The port of Yarmouth would have had splendid views across the Solent, and Jonathan would have been witness to the most powerful and biggest navy of its time, a position Britain held until the 1920s. He would have played witness to the aftermath of war, and these dark times certainly would have influenced his young mind. Jonathan was destined to play his own part in Britain's Royal Navy history. Jonathan Webb was baptised aged 2 years in St James Church, Yarmouth on the 20th of July 1794. Sadly, he lost his mother aged just 8 years, and those following childhood years would have been hard on him. Jonathan began his career before 1818. He followed his brother Richard's footsteps and joined the Preventative Water Guard as a boatman, a job initially designed to protect our shores from smugglers. He married aged 26 to Jane, daughter of John Wood and Anne Lording, on the 2nd of February 1818 in Canterbury, Kent. He is first recorded as a boatman waterguard on the 7th of May 1818 and stationed in Misner Haven, Dunwich, Suffolk. He was married at this time and would have lived with his wife in a very early Coast Guard property. He was moved for a short time to Padstow Coast Guard Station, Cornwall, before being promoted in 1819 to Chief Coast Guard Officer for the Preventative Waterguard Service, a position which ranked Lieutenant in the Royal Navy. On the 28th of August 1819, Jonathan alongside his wife were moved to Stokes Bay Coast Guard Station, Gosport, Hampshire. So he was back on home ground in an area he knew very well. The Stokes Bay Coast Guard Station was actually built on the beach, with splendid views across to his childhood home, the Isle of Wight. He became a father that year, and his eldest was christened Selina Ann Webb and baptised on the 9th of August 1820. On the 1st of February 1822, Chief Officer Jonathan Webb and family were appointed a post in Walton-on-the-Naze. It would be a position that would remain until 1828. His new family home for the next 8 years would have been the Martello Tower, and here both Jane and Jonathan went on to have another 4 children: Francis, Felicia, David and Jonathan Jr. Sadly, Jonathan Jr. only survived for about 14 days. He was baptised on the 27th of September 1827 and sadly buried on the 10th of November at All Saints Church, Walton-on-the-Naze. It was the family's local parish church where they worshipped every Sunday. The church decor inside is very much influenced by the ocean and its maritime heritage. The Martello Tower stands strong beside the Walton backwaters, a tidal creek that is beautiful and often forgotten about by beach goers. The Martello Tower was built in the 18th century to guard our shores from a French invasion. Many of these towers were inherited by the HM Coast Guard and used as stations, lookouts, and in the case of Jonathan Webb and family, their family home. Shortly after the death of Jonathan Jr. on the 19th of April 1828, the family were appointed a new position at Portreath Coast Guard Station, Port of St Ives, Cornwall. It makes me wonder if Jonathan Webb applied for the position as a way to deal with the death of baby Jonathan just a few months before. It's very likely that I would make a decision like that too, as it would allow the entire family time to heal and mourn. Death may have been a common occurrence in Georgian England, but it doesn't mean our ancestors were able to deal with mourning any better than we can. Jonathan and family remained in Portreath for 3 months until he was reappointed a new position at New Quay Station in the port of Cardigan, Wales. The New Quay Station would have been very basic and most likely a wooden structure built close to the shore. The present station wasn't built until 1864 as a result of the Royal Charter storm in 1859. The storm was so severe, the death toll in the Irish Sea is estimated to be over 800 people. One ship alone, the Royal Charter ship, which gave its name to the storm, lost over 450 lives when it was driven onto the east coast, eventually being smashed to pieces against the rocks. Jonathan Webb most likely had a busy time in New Quay, Wales, as the Irish Sea is very unpredictable. On the 10th of March 1837, Jonathan was appointed Chief Officer for Swale Cliff Station, Faversham, Whitstable, Kent. A position he held for the next 5 years. It was most likely a good period for the family, as his wife, Jane, was a local Kent girl and born in Lydd in 1794. It would allow her the opportunity to spend time with family, whom she most likely hadn't seen for a long time. For these next 5 years, the family resided in Swale Cliff Coastguard Station, a property built right up against the seashore. On the 28th of May 1842, Jonathan Webb and family were once more reappointed Chief Officer for Walton Gap, and the family returned to that beautiful coastal village where most of their children were born, and most likely a place they held very dear to their hearts. They would remain in Walton-on-the-Naze for the rest of their lives. Jonathan retired from the Coast Guard Station on the 4th of October 1851, aged 59. He most likely continued to reside at the Martello Tower for a short time before moving into another residence in Walton, most likely with family members. He retired with a pension of £77 per annum, which is equivalent to about £7,000 today. The pension was very good and equated to 385 days of wages in the 1850s. By 1856, Jonathan was awarded Admiral for his services as a Coast Guard, a title he was very proud of. He recorded his occupation in the 1861 census and recorded himself as a superannuated Coast Guard. He was obviously a very proud man. Jonathan Webb passed away on the 3rd of August 1865 from cancer of the stomach. He witnessed 3 big changes to the Coast Guard services during his time. From those early days, as a preventative water guard, protecting our shores from smuggling. From 1822 to 1856, the Board of Customs era, where we first see the establishment of the Coast Guard services. And finally, the Admiralty era, 1856 and onwards. The 1850s onwards were also when the Charitable Lifeboat Service was renamed the RNLI, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. The Coast Guard still continues to support search and rescues for those in need out at sea, and supports the RNLI whenever needed. Jonathan's wife Jane lived for another 10 years, passing away on the 10th of October 1875. She was buried at All Saints Church, Walton-on-the-Naze, alongside her Coast Guard husband Jonathan Webb and infant son Jonathan Jr. On the 15th of January 2022, the United Kingdom celebrates the 200th anniversary of HM Coast Guard, and Yana and I wish them a very happy birthday, and we hope they plan some incredible celebrations. You can learn more about these early years of the Coast Guard service and more detail regarding the life of Admiral Jonathan Webb in the forthcoming publication, The Coast Guard, The Life and Times of Jonathan Webb, due for release and published by Loma Publishing this coming December. Yana and I will keep you all up to date on the release of his new book in due course.
Okay everybody, a big thank you for joining Yana and I on our amazing and incredible day at Walton-on-the-Naze. Today we went in search of one of our distant Coast Guard ancestors, Admiral Jonathan Webb, and we hope you enjoyed the story we put together. But until next time, stay safe, keep well,
And we'll see you all soon.
and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.